Welcome back, listeners. There's a chart on my YouTube page, and it speaks of the fire, air, water, earth, as I spoke, in the ways in which you create energy around you. This is the chapter 10. I'm kind of skipping around. See, Drnn Annu wrote these books. And to me, the best way is to skip around because it just works for me, I guess. So, guys, stay with me. This is the Metu Neteru Volume 2. It is the Kamitic initiation system. Now, it's not like you're cheating on a test and skipping through the important parts and then having an open book test and go back to it, because you can always have an open book and go back to life on areas in which you need to improve in. This chart actually illustrates a lot of what I spoke on in I call it the cosmological aspects. So if you look on my YouTube channel, you'll see how all this kind of translates and correlates together with signs and symbols, the Kabbalah, your chakras, and all your energy, as I say, in universal fields around you. So this is the chapter 10 I'm on, and it's the physical observance of initiation. There can be no success in initiation without proper care of life forces. Attention must be given to its replenishments, conservation, free flow, and equilibrium of its modalities and the phases. And in these phases, and I'll speak of that in a later reading when we go and introduce all of our nectars, and that's something I haven't really gotten into yet, except there's a volume on this channel. It's called the 11 Laws of Mayat. So it does kind of go into the nectars, I'd say. And as I mentioned, Drnn Annu, when he wrote the Metu Neteru, it characterizes all of the nectars in each volume and their emphasis and strengths and what they are capable of creating this huge, beautiful life force around you. It's like that vessel that the closer you get to God, the closer you get to Allah, the closer you get to your creator, your God, or your powerful being, the more you're able to move this matter and energy forces around you. And it just becomes a very beautiful enlightenment of life. Keeping up with it for me has been a little challenging, I must say, because life gets the best of me. Excuse my little kitty. She's a little feral cat, so she runs around here like she's still in the barn. So if you hear scratches and scratches, that's her. So again, I'm reading from Drnn Annu. This is the Metu Neteru, and this is the Anuk Usoar, the Kamitic initiation system. On chapter 10. So when we talk about the fire, the earth, the air, and the water illustrated in that chart, we're speaking about it as you're looking like a clock. From the fire it goes dry, from earth it goes cold, from water it goes moist, from air it goes hot, and back to fire. When you speak about it as in what nectars are controlling those systems around you, or the planetarians, or that cosmological flow of energy, we speak of Haru Kohuti as the noon, which is the summer. That's the fire. Then we go into the dry, which is the southwest, Sebek, that's 3 p.m. The earth is the west, that's Tahuti, Shep's sunset, fall. Cold would be northwest, Uset, 9 p.m. Water would be north, Seker, midnight, winter. Moist would be northeast, Heteru, 3 a.m. Air, east, Mayat, sun, spring. Southeast, Heteru, 9 a.m. And back again to fire, south, Heteru, noon, summer. And again, this is like looking at a clock going in a backwards direction. So when you see the illustration, I'll have that on a new recording. So we get to this and kind of just describing how your day should be spent, how your time should be spent. Because in order for you to initiate your system, you have to be aware of the timing in which you are in at the present time, in those moments, So, excuse me, the life forces have 4 mods. four modes of expression and phases that have been described in the spiritual literature through metaphors of the four elements, which again are fire, earth, water, and air. The life force is subject to a clinical alternation of phases in which it heats and dries the body at one extreme, which is the fire, and cools and moisturizes the body at the other with the water. In between these are the cold and dry, which is earth, and hot and moist air phases. Excess or deficiency in the generation of any of these modalities results in illness and psychological problems. The equilibrium of the four modalities of the life forces is achieved. So first of all, through living in harmony with its cycle as shown in the above diagram, and that's what I described to you because you can't see it. It is the Kamitic model for thinking cosmologically about physical phenomena. The background material for the full understanding of this material has been dealt with in volume 1, which we spoke about a little bit, and thus I will confine myself here in the direction for living. I think I did more of the volume 1. So you'll see that coming through more and more, but again, I'm skipping around so you kind of understand what that initiation system is and why it's important to learn more of the Nectaru's physical job, or like what they're able and capable of. I say they, but because I look at them as like God's children and it's part of tree of life. And as you hear me speak about this, it's like I look at them as like figures. We actually make these into actual figures. So you'll see Heteru, you'll see Kahuti, you see the Horus's eye, you see these symbols in which were drawn on the ancient Egyptianology and the walls back in then. So that's what you'll find in volume 1. And thus I will confine myself here to the directions for living. So at sunrise, which is around the 3 p.m., and in that chart I was speaking of, 3 p.m. is going to be around southwest Sebek, which is going to be a little dry. So raising the fire to its optimum and taking advantage of it by scheduling those tasks that require great effort of the will, courage, and ambition. This is the point where the body heats, it's beginning to rise and above its median point, and its moisture is still supportive of heavy body exertion. So although other factors coincide to enable body to reach its peak exertion towards the late afternoon, this is the best time, taking the whole into consideration, for exercising. So then this heat generated, besides aiding the body to meet its psychological demands and providing the brain with the fire to carry out our will, especially in the areas of enterprise, behavioral change, difficult decisions, self-employment, dealing with difficulties, and so on. So as you can see, 3 p.m. is a good time to go do some exercise and work on that. Breakfast must begin with the protein and followed by a complex carbohydrate. So never make the first thing you eat a sugar, a sweet, a donut, raisins, etc. Or consume more than the equivalent of a teaspoon or two teaspoons of sugar. So sweets have the attribute of calming down the brain, which is not in harmony with the psychological trend at this day of time. So also keep fats low, as they slow down digestion and make you sluggish. So if you're a coffee drinker, this is the best time after all has been eaten. Okay, but limit yourself to no more than 1 cup or less a day. The importance of caffeine judiciously used as widely recognized throughout Africa. Before very important transactions, those who adhere to traditional ways, are in the habit of chewing the kola, which back in Africa be kola nut. Now, out of the appreciation for soberness and increased wakefulness. For the same reason, avoiding sleepy or during this time of period helps you stay awake. But besides exercising, the time of the day is best for such aerobic, yogic breathing, exercising practices, and as to alternate the nostril through breathing, bellows breathing, and the humo, or Gotomo breathing. So we have, again, the alternate nostril breathing, bellows breathing, and the Duhomo Gotomo breathing. And I'll speak more about that later. Now, the best time for eating dinner is between 1 and 3 p.m. The accumulated heat of the body lends good support to the digestive system. So it is important to arrange your menus so that 60% of your calories come from complex carbohydrates, which are like grains, yams, potatoes, cassava, etc. And then 20% from protein, 10% from fats, vegetables only, and 10% from salad vegetables. It is best to avoid animal products such as fish, eggs, chicken, and dairy, which are not vegetables in this case, if you haven't noticed. And besides having an adverse effect on your health, because animal protein and fat are the greatest dietary source of cancer, heart disease, and rheumatoid illness. Now, you will not be able to fulfill the requirements of the Mayat stage of initiation. So meat eating by humans betray a lack of understanding of the interrelationship and the interdependence between the makeup of human digestive systems and the food intended for it. So if we were meant to be meat eaters, then we would eat raw without worrying about infections. We would relish the sight, the taste, and the smell of raw blood. And at this sight of a bleeding animal, we would salivate, and succumb to hunger pangs. The fact that we have to tenderize meat through cooking and other means shows that our teeth were not made for meat. We wouldn't have to add onions, garlic, peppers, tomatoes, basil, oregano, and all that kinds of things to make the meat taste like a vegetable. Now, between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m., your main objective, taking advantage of the drying and cooling of the body by scheduling those tasks that require the input for the intellect. The period to 3 to 6 p.m., it is a time to engage in lower intellect, psychological, logical, and technological activities. So from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., the mental activities, analysis, synthesis, and intuitive inquiries. So if needed, a light supper may be taken around 6 p.m. Again, go slow on the sweets and the fat. Note that this is a time that most people, because of the economic schedule of the contemporary world, do their heaviest exercising. Exercising so late is disruptive to the health, as it raises the body temperature and the activity of the thyroid when they are naturally scheduled to go down. The latter will interfere with the depth of sleep and its functions. So the regeneration, the healing, the rehabilitation, etc. Then you go from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Between these hours, taking advantage of the remoistening and cooling of the body by scheduling meditation or activities at this time. As the body cools and regains its moisture, our psyche receptivity increases. The initiate should meditate at around 9 p.m., the Uset phase, for an hour to 90 minutes. Retire to bed around 10:30 p.m. and wake up at 3 a.m. Head to a root period for another meditation session for about 15 to 30 minutes. If this can be accomplished without problems in falling back to sleep. Now after that, he or she should return to sleep. Now in this matter, the subject's meditation will vigorously work on by the sleep subconsciousness. Your next subconscious stage we spoke about in the videos, where you're actually laying there, but your body's uplifting around, moving us down. So it will also affect the content of your dreams and increase the ease of their interpretation. The relationship between what is dreamed and the meditation will always be clear. To facilitate meditation, the yoga stretching posture, the asanas, should be practiced before meditating. By stretching the body, they release tension and enhances the meditation process. The body's heat, moisture, tends to follow that of the earth, which heats up and dries out with the rising of the sun, and reverses with the setting. People who sleep by day and work by night work against this natural rhythm of the planet. This is why night workers suffer a higher incidence of illness, accidents, and commit more mistakes, and so on. These facts are strongly arguable against the belief that some people are by nature night owls. We should not be surprised to find that many people have their bodily cycles and functions perverted by the host of ills from modern living. Other health principles must also be observed. We must exercise moderation in eating, fasting, sex, work, and so on. We must get an average of 7 hours of sleep, and sleep and sexual activities have the strongest impact on the nervous energy, which is the grossest manifestation of the psychic force. Drugs of all types, tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, and any others may be avoided. It is highly recommended that the initiate becomes fully conversant with the subject of healing and of health and healing. I have included a list of recommended books in the appendix, which I will read later if you guys are interested in that. Right now, I will throw that in there now because these are like very interesting ways of meditating. I myself have ways of meditating. There's a book as well that Ra'u Neferman has as well. There's stages and everything. So I'm trying to go in the way that we're not all getting confused because life is confusing. But some of the books that he has of interest that you can look up would be, this is by James Breasted, and it's called The Development of Religion and Thoughts in Ancient Egypt. And that's it, written by the University of Pennsylvania Press in 1972. And then we have E.A. Wallace and Budge, The Gods of the Egyptians, Dover Publications, New York. And let me see. Now we have G. See what other I can find in here. Interesting. Okay. Alrighty. So in Appendix D, we have a couple more books you can also look at if you're looking and seeking that meditation that you're needing other than the ones that I've mentioned. We can also go ahead and add on another one, which is like the Usar stage. So in Usar, you're looking at that meditation that you need. And if I could just get to the page here again, I would gladly share that information with you. And looks like we are almost there. So that's all I really want to share with you. It just gives to E. So I would just use the books that I have because unfortunately D doesn't seem to be in here. So that is some of the books that you can look up. Again, that was chapter 10. And we're going to go over chapter 11 on the next session, and that's the Uset stage of initiation. And what we just went through and was, again, the chart that kind of helped you go around the earth, the fire, the water, and the air, because that's the important stages of learning yourself. As we spoke about the initiation system, there's levels to this. So you have to go around those levels. And that's all illustrated in my YouTube video. We went around the levels of the 0, the 1, when we were speaking about the Pa'u Neteru. Those are all the vehicles of God. Okay? So thank you for joining me in chapter 10. That was a physical observance for initiation. Again, we'll be doing chapter 11. The next one is the Uset stage of initiation, which is this process of laying down the foundation for spiritual development. Hang in there, guys. It's not an easy task, but we can do it.